Okay, so pay attention. This might help you out for any assessments that I give you. Okay, so how far is the point on the ground from the base to the building? So they want from here to here, right? So this is our unknown. I would strongly encourage you to kind of make a little sketch. Take out the triangle that you want to work with. I know some of us are like, no, I just want to do it quick, right? I want to do it quick, but then you mix up triangles. What you want to focus on is what side, the one side that is given, the only side is right here, okay, which goes from here to here. So that means that you want to focus on this triangle. Okay, that's the triangle you want to focus on. And so the 32, which is the smaller angle, 43 goes all the way to the top. I wanted to erase that 11, but it obviously didn't make it when I scanned it.
Please return to room 53, Darius Sutner. Please return to room 53. Thank you.
But yes, this is 11, okay? We know that 32 and 11, right, these two combined make up the 43. That is correct, okay? I could use this exact same diagram and make it a totally different question, right? I could have given you this side here and then ask for other sides that are missing, right? So the concept still applies. So here we go, just a little sketch, okay? I'm just gonna take out the 32 in this case, put it over here. This is 27. And let's flood it with angles, okay? That's what I keep on telling you. What can you fill in? If this is a 90, okay, then we know that this is 58 here. Sum of triangles, right? If this is 58 here, I can figure this one out. I don't think I have that in front of me right now. So what, 2 to get to 60? So 122. Okay, 122 there. And then 11, 122, that's 133. 7 to get to 40, right? So 47 for this angle right here. So you kind of figure out angles everywhere. So I would call this flood with angles. That is probably a good strategy. It's like, hey, I can find out a bunch of angles based on the information that I'm given. So if this is 27, if I want to find x, then I need to use this angle that's opposite to it. So this is 58 up here. This is a 90 there. It happens to be a 90-degree right triangle, so we go sine of 32, which I did see most of you getting this one. And this is side x, right? So that's what I'm solving for. This would be 27 times sine of 58. Sine of 32. Some teachers don't like the shortcut. So if anybody ever asks you, like, who taught you this? You're like, I don't know. I just saw it on TikTok or something. I still think it's mathematically sound. I could show you the old school way, right? So your teachers before asked you to always cross multiply, right? And you have stuff on both sides. And then you divide out whatever's in front of x. That's what you're doing here, okay? It's just a shortcut for that. So here, I'm just going to give you the answer. You get 43.21 meters. That's this part right here. So we're good. Now you have another pair, by the way, that you could use. Next, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It's asking you how high above the ground to the top of the crane. I'm going to use a different color for this one. It's essentially asking you for this whole thing all the way to the top, right? So it's asking for this distance all the way to the top. So this calls for a different diagram. Okay. Now that I'm dealing with that orange side, this side here, I kind of ignore this side right here of that smaller triangle. I ignore it. Now I want to use 43 to give me y. You can call that side y. Trying to have everything on there. And then I know that this is 47 up here. Why would I want to use the 47? Because I know the side that's across from it. I'm creating a known pair. Okay? So this is your pair here that you're going to use, and the 43 is going to help you find y. Okay, so let's solve that. Sine of 47 over 43/21, and then it's sine of 43 over y. You cross multiply, times sine of 43 divided by sine of 47. And y is going to equal to 40.29. All the way to the top, okay? From the ground all the way to the top, 40.29. And then I want to know how tall the crane is. That is C. So I just want this little piece. I'm going to use a different color. How about green? Just want this here. Okay, how tall is the crane? So I'm highlighting, I'm using green for the crane. There it is. So basically, total height minus building. That's what I'm going to do. So the total height is 40.29. The building itself is 27. If I subtract those two, I get 1329. And there you have it. So my key has the order of these questions flipped. And the reason I flipped it is because I realized that most students, you should probably do this first, then solve this. Okay? Is it possible to have used, if you just look up here, would it be a good idea to use this triangle here to solve for the crane itself? I would argue is not a good idea, because if you think of this triangle, you don't know a single side, right? You know this part right here, but you don't know any sides of this triangle, so don't use that one. There may be instances where you can, but if you don't know any of the sides, don't use it. It's a bad idea. You got to go about it a different way. If you take the time and solve for this, if you had solved for this one that they share, then you could have jumped into here and used that 11 to solve for that crane height. You could have done that, but you didn't know enough to use that triangle. So only use triangles that you have a side for, okay? Okay.